What is up, ILT? Hey, man, I was trying really hard to figure out how to start off this video with some music, but then I found out that you could only play music if you pay for Screencast-O-Matic, and you don't get the free one. So use your imagination, make believe there's some really cool music to start here. We're just going to talk about really 6-week push. There's a note on this slide about grade book audits by the one and only Patrick Creedon. Make sure that we are meeting the P&P formative and summative guidelines set by Patrick Creedon and sent out via pre-work. So we should have gotten those in our email. And as we are doing our audits, make sure that you are good to go there. For 6-week push, a couple things I want to talk about. Number one, our data dashboard that we are going to use to look at grade distribution is done. They did not have what I needed on Polaris, so I figured out a way to build it via IC. Really excited to walk us through that. And then I also want to make sure that we feel ready to go to lead our first reflection in departments on our 6-week push and peer observations. That'll take place this Wednesday afternoon. We'll have just over an hour. So really excited to do that. So let's look at data first. I sent this out via email, and it will also be in the memo, of course. But if you look here, there are 4 main tabs. Okay, the first tab is grades broken down by race, and the race codes are here. 2, 3, 4. 2 is Asian, 3 is Black, not Hispanic, and 4 is Latinx, 5 is white, 7 is multiple races, and let's see if we could find a 6 in here. 6 is Pacific Islander or Hawaiian, and it's not a ton of students that make up that demographic, but here we go. In composition, we have more than likely, one student who qualifies as Pacific Islander or Hawaiian. So on this tab here, you will be able to see the average percentage grade by race and ethnicity, by class, by performance band. So this is going to be a really useful tool for you in coaching with your people to be able to track growth from our 6-week push implementation. So the hope here, right, is that we start to see improved scores, and probably more importantly, that we start to see some gaps closing across race, ethnicity, multi-language learner, and our students with disabilities. I went ahead and used performance bands, either reading or math, that is most closely aligned to each class. So for Algebra 2 here, obviously, this is the math performance band data, and this is for American history, the reading performance band data. And that is all the same throughout here. Depending on the content area, I used that performance band. There's a key in row 292 for the different race codes that Stephanie Wise and I hunted down the other night, and that is right here. All right. For tab 2, this is multi-language learners percentage grade by class and by performance band. So same thing. Start at the top. Here's our academic English class. This class maybe isn't the best example. It's only multi-language learners in this class. But here's a better example, Algebra 2. The top row of Algebra 2 honors is not multi-language learners. They do not qualify for that. And then the bottom row is multi-language learners. And then the gap is here. It's about a 4% inverse gap for multi-language learners as compared to non-multi-language learners. In American history, you could see that there is no gap, 83-83. Here's an example of a gap that we are seeing in American literature. Multi-language learners' average percentage score is about a 72 as compared to 76 overall. And you could see probably more specifically and more useful broken down by performance band. Okay, so you could see that here, a 9% gap for PB1A multi-language learners, 7% gap for PB1B, 9% gap for PB2, and an 11% gap for PB4. Okay, so that's how you'll use this. As a reminder, our 6-week push target is that we have no gaps greater than 8% across identity markers, be it race, ethnicity, students with disabilities, multilanguage learners. Our end of try gap is actually no gaps larger than 5%. But our end of 6-week push gap is no gaps larger than 8% to get us at least trending in the right direction to where we need to go. Again, all of this data is broken down by performance band, the one that most closely aligns to the class, either reading or math. The third tab is our Students with Disabilities tab. Same thing here. It's broken down by class and by performance band. And it's also broken down by students with disabilities versus not students that do not qualify as having a disability. And you could see, we'll start with academic English again. If I am a student with a disability in this class, my average grade is a 95% versus a student that does not have a disability, my average grade is a 90%. And this 95 is just about 3% higher than the overall grade of a 93. And you may be wondering, shouldn't that be a 2? If you click into these percentages, you could see what they actually are. They're just rounded here. So the overall grade in academic English is actually a 92.62, while the overall grade for our students with disabilities is actually a 95.2. So it is just about 3%. And same thing all the way through. As a reminder, our target is no gaps greater than 8%. We already do have some gaps greater than that 8%, and that's a good conversation to have and something to track and create some winning streaks on, honestly, with your people, because this is very early data. Missed one there. Sometimes that conditional formatting doesn't catch all of them. Okay, so here's the data for our students with disabilities. Social Studies 8 did not have grades in when I ran this initial report. So that's what this looks like. And then the final tab on this sheet is a breakdown less in the weeds and just at grade level here. So I'll explain what this is. Here up top, this is our breakdown by race across each grade level. Okay, so you'd read this going horizontally here. So if I'm an Asian student, the average percentage grade for an Asian student in 6th grade is a 92. In 7th grade is an 84. In 8th grade is an 82, etc. down the line here. Our white students are highlighted here because they are the predominant subgroup on our campus. So I say that because as we move over to the right, you'll see that our 2 focus groups in terms of race and ethnicity are Latinx students and our Black and African American students. Those are our 2 focus groups. We're comparing their scores to 2 different metrics. Number 1, we're looking at the overall score. So what that would mean is for our Latinx students, an 88% in 6th grade as compared to an overall 6th grade performance score of 92 would mean that there is just about a 3, probably a little bit higher, just under 4% gap there. While if we're comparing to our predominant subgroup or the majority gap from our Latinx students to our predominant subgroup, our white students, that gap grows to about 7%. Okay, so that's what these numbers over here are telling us. Our Latinx students at every grade level as compared to the overall percentage score. There's a gap at every grade level. And then our Black and African American students as compared to the overall grade level score. These 2 columns would be our Latinx students as compared to our white students, our majority subgroup students, across each grade level and overall. And then same thing for our Black and African American students as compared to our predominant subgroup, our white subgroup on campus, across each grade level. Okay, so that's what that top section here for race is telling us. If we go into this next section, then the sections are kind of broken down by these big orange bars here. This next section, oh, you know what? Let me do this real quick. Boom. Let's do that here too. Little hard line will make it a little easier to see. Okay, so for this section, this is our students with disabilities and comparison to students that do not have a disability. So we are looking here, our yellow highlight here, just like it was up here, is our predominant subgroup, who are students without disabilities. And then same thing for our multilanguage learners down here. Our yellow subgroup, our highlighted group here is our predominant subgroup, students that are not qualifying for services for a multilanguage learner. So same thing, you could see grade level comparison, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, all the way through 12th, and then an overall. Same thing for multilanguage learners down below. Then looking here, I should probably get rid of that. Looking here, sorry, this is just going to bother me. I apologize. Okay, looking here, you'll see similar to what was up here, where we had comparison to overall gap, which is the overall score for that grade, the overall percentage score, and then our majority gap, which is the score for the predominant subgroup as compared to the group with the identity marker that we are focusing on. So for our students with disabilities, when we're comparing to the overall score in 6th grade, you'll see that our students with disabilities are scoring about an 85% in 6th grade. The overall score is about a 92, and that equates to just about a 6% gap here. Okay, so that's what this number is telling us. If we are comparing to the majority gap, which is students with disabilities being compared to students without disabilities, you would see that it's just about a 7% gap. And I know that these numbers are a little confusing, but if you click into them, you could see the exact decimal, which is telling us why it's a 6 versus 7, even though they're both showing up as 92 here. So you could do that all the way down, 7th grade students with disabilities compared to the overall, compared to students without disabilities, 8th grade compared to overall, compared to students without disabilities, all the way down. And then you'll be able to do the exact same thing for our multilanguage learners. So 6th grade, multilanguage learners are averaging about an 84% across all classes. The total is about a 92%, which equates to just about a 7% gap that we're seeing there. However, when we compare our multilanguage learners to our students who do not qualify as a multilanguage learner, the gap widens. We see about a 9% gap there. So this is the data that will be updated weekly by me and shared with our staff. All staff have access to this. Let's see who's in here now so we can give them a shout out. Wow, Rick Weissmiller, crushing it. Okay, so all of our staff have access to this. I sent it out today, and it's also going to be in the memo. This is going to be really important that we keep track of this, because this will really tell us how effective our 6-week push has been or has not been. And we really want to make sure that as a result of our 6-week push, we are seeing limited gaps in achievement. Okay. The other data pieces here that I'll be sharing pretty consistently will also tell us how our 6-week push is going. You could see here, today is Wednesday the 9th. Nope, today is Tuesday the 8th. It's all the same day. But I just completed this. I complete these the day prior. But you can see our F rate here. And I'll share this with our staff and with y'all on a weekly basis as well. You can see our middle school has a target of less than 13% F rate on the try, and our high school has a target of less than 10% F rate on the try. The try ended today, week and 3 days in, we'd be crushing it. We know that's not the